This is my female family tree. Everything written here is true. Each of these conversations happened between me and my sister or my mother or my grandmother, with some minor artistic license taken. I come from a line of women who have been violated and battered. I come from women who have run away from their pasts. I am trying to come to terms with that past, and how I am as much a product of it as I am despite it. I would like to apologize to my sister, my mother, and my grandmothers for taking their stories and sharing it through my voice. I would like to thank them, too, for their strength and beauty despite all they've been through. And to them, and to all women, I know, I'm sorry, thank you, I forgive you.
Matt, Jerome, John McCall, Alex, Jack, and Olivia.
Really? With all of them?
No, those are just the people who've seen like everything. Other people have just seen like my boobs or whatever.
I cannot believe you did that with Matt fucking Bowles.
I know you don't get it, but there was just something about him.
And somehow you've gleaned this something about him without ever actually having an in-person conversation with him.
Yeah, I know.
Does it ever bother you?
Not really.
I gave up really quickly on stopping you at the risk of sounding like some paranoid helicopter parent, but I don't know, maybe I should have kept at you about it.
I'm not like ashamed of myself.
No, I'm not saying you should be. It's not like I'm some goddamn Puritan. I just
What, Daisy?
I just want you to be safe.
Well, I don't do it anymore.
Why did you do it in the first place? When I was 15, I wouldn't want anybody seeing my naked body, especially teenage boys.
I don't know. It felt good to be appreciated, you know? To have guys telling me I was sexy or beautiful.
Alice, you didn't know that already? You're so beautiful.
Okay, well, it's kind of hard to believe when I'm constantly getting compared to.
Are you saying I did this to you?
Well, it sure as hell didn't help.
I'm a little bit stressed about getting a job for the summer, but other than that, I'm feeling pretty good.
Why do you need a job?
Oh, I contribute to my school expenses, so I need to be making money during the summer, and hopefully next year I'll get a job during the school year as well.
Oh, okay. Honey, can I ask you something? A personal question?
Yeah, of course. What do you want to know?
Why do you, I guess, I'm a bit confused. Why do you need a job if you already have a full scholarship?
Oh, I don't have a full ride here. I have a full tuition scholarship, which doesn't cover room and board and books and stuff. And here that's pretty expensive, so I contribute.
Okay, I was just confused with you and cousin.
Yeah, we both have tuition scholarships, which are awesome, obviously, but they don't cover everything.
Okay, thank you for helping me to understand that, sweetie.
Of course, anytime.
Well, I'll let you go. Let you get back to your schoolwork and your studying.
Okie doke. Good night, Mima.
Good night. Hello again, sweetheart. It's me, Mom. I'm just calling to say I'm sorry for asking about your schoolwork, for asking about your financial situation and your money. I shouldn't have said anything. It was so rude of me. I should have kept to myself. I'm so sorry. I hope that you can forgive me. Sorry again.
Mima, hi, I got your message.
Oh, sweet.
And I just want to say, it's totally fine that you asked about my scholarship and my financial situation at school. You did nothing wrong, there's nothing to forgive.
I'm just so sorry. I should have respected your privacy.
No, I'm an open book, honest. It's practically common knowledge that I have this scholarship, and it's no big secret that I contribute as well. Please, Mima, don't worry.
I'm sorry.
It's all completely fine.
Sorry. When I was young, we would never talk about money.
How so?
My father would never let my mother see his paychecks, much less any of us girls. He was in charge of the money in the house, no one else.
Oh,
Sometimes I think, well, that's not important now.
sometimes you think what?
Sometimes I think he did it just to keep us there. My mother never held more than a few dollars in her hand at one time. And even if we did manage to get away, where would we go? A woman and her $4 would be completely helpless on their own back then. I suppose that's why she never left. Because she couldn't.
I never knew that.
I don't talk about it much. I got out eventually.
I know you did, and that's truly amazing.
Amazing isn't really the word I would use.
Why not?
Well, I suppose you know a bit about my childhood.
Oh, yeah, my mom told me some stuff. I'm sorry, that's your private business.
No. It's part of who I am and a part of who I've become. So, then you know about the kind of man my father was.
A bad one.
That's one way to say it.
Did you also know that your grandfather was the first and only boyfriend I ever had?
Yeah, I know, you talk about how crazy you were about him all the
I
time.
was. He was just so smart and handsome. He swept me off my feet, but that's not why I married him.
Why did you?
Because he was kind. And all I had wanted all my life was to meet a man who was completely different than my father. The first opportunity I had to marry a man like that and to escape him, well, I took it.
I'm really happy you did.
My mother was with him until he died. I left them. I left my mother and my sisters behind and I started it all.
You did what you had to do to survive, Mima. Nobody can fault you for that. Everything that happened back then was his fault, not yours or anybody else's.
I noticed. Did you know that I wanted to be a social worker?
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about it once.
I wanted to work with people like me, people who have been hurt. I wanted to work with children especially.
And
And we had to do this seminar for the program I was in where we went to a local prison and we learned to counsel those in a prison setting. And I couldn't do it because it was a men's prison. I dropped out of the program after that. Even years later, with children of my own, I couldn't be in that environment with men who were like my father. I got a degree eventually, and I did get to help children who needed me, but I was still being held back by my past.
well, for what it's worth, I'm really glad you're my girl. You inspired me.
You're so sweet. I'm just glad that my daughters never have to deal with that you don't have to go through that. You can be anything you want to be. I never had that opportunity. Neither did my mother.
Well, I think you did an amazing job with the life that you were given.
You're proof of that, sweetie.
You know I love my mother, but you also know she drives me up the wall.
I know, Grandma Ruby makes me nuts.
Even when I was a teenager, it was like I was the mother and she was the child. And somehow, as I've gotten older, it's become even more true. I feel bad for condescending to her, but I can't help it when she acts the way she does.
Even when you were young, she was like that?
My mother never really grew out of being a teenager.
Sure, you had one kid by the time you came around. I would think that would mature a person.
She was never really ready to be an adult. She wanted kids, but she didn't want a husband. Or to have sex. Ever. I don't think it really clicked for her that you couldn't have one without the other.
How old were you when the divorce happened?
10. It was hell.
How did the four of you get through that? I mean, you were all so young.
John shut down completely, refused to talk to Mom or Dad, and Ryan and Aaron were too young to really understand what was going on, except for being afraid when they would argue. You know, my dad wasn't convinced that Aaron was his daughter.
Really?
Mom and Rick had been having an affair for a while. Rick and his family were our neighbors, you know. I mean, we know Aaron is my dad's child now, but that argument was the last straw back then.
And you guys got split up, right?
Yeah. Aaron stayed with Mom, the rest of us moved with Dad. She was all alone. I left her alone.
I mean, you were just a kid.
I was then, but I never went back for her. I was too angry at the world to see that my little sister needed me.
Well, at least you're both super well adjusted now.
That's for sure, much more than our mother. But we both seem to look and sound more like her every day. Ugh.
Well, is there a reason why she seems to be a perpetual teen?
I have a theory, but it's not really nice to think about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just curious. I understand it's personal.
No, I think you're old enough to hear about it. My mom's dad wasn't a good guy. He abused all of them, and I think it permanently arrested my mom's development, to the point where she could never really enter adulthood, even now that she's over 70 years old.
That's terrible.
It is. And I understand how deeply she was damaged, but she still wasn't a good mom. Sometimes I wonder if it's wrong of me to blame her.
Well, I mean, obviously you know better because it's your life, but I don't know, maybe it's both. Maybe she's both the victim and the perpetrator.
I just wish she would have put us before herself and her own self-preservation, but she couldn't.
Well, what about Brenda, Eddie, and Rick?
I love my dad, but he's a very different man now than he was then. He was a drunk. Rick was too. I mean, they never hit any of us, or my mom, but they still weren't good men. Rick wouldn't even let my mom have a job because he didn't want her to be able to take care of herself. She was fine with that because after her father, all she wanted was someone who would take care of things for her. She wasn't really thinking about who would take care of us.
I'm really grateful for you, Mom. You've always taken care of us.
Thanks, hon. Always tried to be there for you in the way my parents never were.
Even if we can be just a little bit strict sometimes.
Are you talking about the sleepovers?
I'm just saying.
You know, there always was a reason for my feelings about sleepovers.
Other than just thinking they're generally unnecessary and lead to sleep deprivation and too much junk food eating.
When I was in high school, my friend came over to my house once, completely distraught, saying he needed to talk to me about something important. He told me that he had slept over at his friend's house, and his friend's father had sexually abused him. It had happened more than once, and he didn't know what to do.
Oh my God.
I didn't know what to do. I was 15, for God's sake. I can't even really remember now what I told him. We were both too young to deal with something like that.
I guess that's a pretty good damn reason for not wanting your kids to have sleepovers.
Unless I trusted the parents completely, like when you were younger with Emily, or I sometimes let Evan or Alice go with their closest friends.
Yeah.
I need more coffee.
I don't even know how to feel about it, really, because while it was happening, it felt kind of good, but I didn't want to do it in the first place. I dreaded her wanting to do it again. It happened at one of our sleepovers. And, well, I never really could say no to her. Even if I meant hurting someone. Or me in this case.
Have you ever told anyone?
I told a friend a couple of months ago. It was easier to tell someone who didn't know her, who hadn't known me for very long. It just took me so long to come to terms with it myself.
You carried this around for years on your own. You don't have to anymore.
I think so.
So, do you think you'll ever tell Mom?
Considering it was like the exact thing she worried about happening to her kids at sleepovers? Probably not. Not ever.
Well, I'm glad you told me. I just wish, I don't know, they could have been there for you or something.
That is not something you need to be regretting. I was mean as hell back then, especially to you. I mean, you're my little sister. I should have been taking care of you, not excluding you because I was so wrapped up in my friend. Nothing that happened back then is your fault or anything that came after. No, if anyone should regret not being there for someone, it's me. Just think, if I paid more attention, noticed more, I could have, I don't know. I just can't help but feeling like I messed you up.
You didn't.
I just want to protect you from boys who don't value you, from thinking you're not good enough, and from the whole goddamn world.
Well, you couldn't. You can't. You can be here for me now. Just how I'm here for you.
Thanks. Now that I've disclosed my childhood sexual trauma, I guess I can join the club with the rest of the women in our family.
What do you mean?
Oh, Mom told me something about Grandma Ruby.
I mean, I knew about Mima and her father, but Grandma Ruby? What happened?
Well, you know how Grandma Ruby grew up with 8 sisters and 1 brother?
I grew up with 8
10 of us
sisters and 1 brother. 10 of us in total. I think all those children really took it out of my mother. With the birth of each one of us, she faded further and further away. She was a victim too. I see that now. And she probably couldn't have protected any of us, even if she wanted to. I was my father's favorite. That didn't excuse me from anything. He still touched me, still hurt me. Just like the rest of my sisters, it just meant he taught me how to fix up cars when he wasn't drinking. I think we were all too messed up and scared to protect each other. I was one of the oldest, and I wasn't really there for my younger sisters. Just like my mother wasn't really there for me. When I got to high school, I didn't know there was another word for what he did to me. didn't know what sex was. I didn't know there was another word for love. I didn't know a man could touch me in a way that had something to do with love. I didn't know what love was. I married Eddie because he wanted to marry me, and I needed to get out of that house. I wasn't ready to be a mother. I married Rick because Eddie was no longer the man I knew when I was a teenager, and Rick treated me nicely. Cy came along and I was finally ready to be a mother. Just 4 children too late. I know my daughters blame me. I know my sons disregard me. I try to love my grandchildren so much to make up for the deficit I have racked up from my own children. I think when Rick died, I finally became a person because I was forced to fend for myself for the first time in my life. At age 61, I still talk to my sisters every day. We've all moved on in our own ways. Some of us are gone, but at least we all made sure we had some love in our lives. None of us having gotten any from our parents. We give love to each other, protecting each other retroactively. Healing is a form of protection. I think we did the best we could. Maybe if I told my daughters all this, they would finally forgive me, but I don't think I could. All I can ask for is that my daughters don't have lives like I did. That my granddaughters never have to go through what I did. If they have that, then I don't need forgiveness.
For all my rail against the traditional establishment, I sure did have a pretty traditional life.
What do you mean?
When I was younger, I always thought that I would never turn into my mother, never become a stay-at-home mom tied down to a man. I wanted a career. And then your father and I dated all throughout college and got married right out of it. And I had to get an office job to save up for our house and future children, then another office job. Then Leo came along, and for the next 10 years, I was either pregnant or had a baby in diapers, or both. I never did get that career. So much for my double major in art history and French.
I mean, sure you had a traditional life, but didn't you like your traditional life?
Of course. I would trade any of these things for the world. And I'm so happy to be married to him. The life I ended up with was a good one. I guess it's just not the one I was expecting.
I mean, why didn't you get a job at MUSAM or, I don't know, just put off having kids for a while?
My life had been so unstable. The divorce, moving around, my parents' second marriages, my father's second divorce, having to pay my way through college. I wanted something concrete, and Mike was that. He was safe and kind.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the traditional life.
I just don't want you to ever feel like you have to do something because of the way I raised you. I want you to feel free to make your own decisions.
I know, and I am. The example you set for me of being traditional has been a good one. Being raised by you didn't mess me up or anything. Quite the opposite. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You shouldn't have to be sorry.
I left them behind.
I couldn't protect them. I couldn't protect myself.
I left her behind.
I don't want to be trapped.
I want to be my own person.
He was kind.
He was not kind.
He was kind.
You were nice.
She was not
It
kind.
made me feel good.
I don't know if I'll ever get married.
I needed to get married.
I wonder if I hadn't gotten married.
I didn't want to become my mother.
I'm becoming my mother.
No one loved me.
Until he loved me.
No one had ever taken care of me.
I can take care of
I
myself.
want someone to care for me.
She couldn't get out. I couldn't save them.
I couldn't help him.
I couldn't help
I
her.
couldn't save her.
I left my sister behind. I'm
I
sorry.
was not kind to myself. I'm sorry.
I left my daughters behind. I'm sorry.
She was with him until he died. I'm sorry.
I want someone to blame.
Was this all done to us, or did we do this to each other? Thank you. I forgive you.
Para que no la juegue, convertir en cristal.